Super Vampires. This is a game that I picked up recently on Amazon. It was on sale. It was available for pretty low price. And even though I didn't know anything about it and the cover looked weird enough, not particularly inspiring to me, I decided to give it a try. Super Vampires is a family game, but really mainly a children game with a pretty impressive presentation, as you can see. The board is really made of a board that goes on the table, then you have 4 towers, and you have a grid that goes on top. There are 2 such grids, and different grids. Using a grid rather than the other changes gameplay somewhat and changes the level of challenge. The theme, oh my gosh, the theme is so strange. And when I'm playing children games, I don't need the theme to be all that tight and vivid, but this is just so strange that even my daughters, who are 4 and 6, raise some objections, or at least some questions. Now, there is a vampire hunter that has left garlic around the vampire castle. So all the vampires that live there usually are freaked out, they can't get out of their coffins, and they need super vampires. So super vampires that are strong enough that they can actually touch the garlic. So these super vampires are going around the castle collecting garlic, but they still have to do it before the sun comes up because, well, you may be a super vampire strong enough to handle garlic, but the old idea of like, well, don't get a suntan if you're a vampire still holds. Each player uses one of these pawns here, and you place it on a tower, which becomes your starting tower. Then when it is your turn, you roll this die, which tells you the type of garlic or the location of the piece of garlic that you're trying to collect. And as you can see, there are garlic symbols on that grid. So for example, if I rolled red, now I need to go and collect that garlic there. Once I have my garlic thing, then with my finger, with only one finger, placing it on the side of my pawn, not on top, otherwise it's too easy. On the side, I'm pushing my vampire on these beams here, trying to get there without falling. And it's as simple as that. Well, now I'm cheating just to show you. So if I get there, I can get one of these garlic tokens here, and I put it on top of my pawn. Then I can choose to go back to my base and drop it in there. You see that looks like a coin bank. I can choose to get that garlic and put it there, but I still have to, again, push my guy. Or I can choose to try to go for another one, in which case I roll, and I simply, oh, that was lucky. I rolled black, and black is there. So I simply go there, and I put another one on top. As you can see, as you start having more than one, then when you're doing these little hits to move the pawn, the little stack of garlic pieces becomes particularly unstable. So you're trying to go back there without falling. If you go back there, then you can drop your garlic in your coin bank, in your tower. If you fall, then you go back up there. You can continue going, but for the time being, you have lost that garlic. But you may probably wonder, how long do you have? Well, you have before the sun comes up, and that is determined by this little board here and by these dice. By these 6 dice, they are all black, but for a side that shows a sun symbol. So very, very thematic, and this is a very neat idea. Instead of having just a timer so that players, have a certain amount of time to complete their garlic quest, or I should say to collect as many pieces of garlic as they can, instead of having that, you have the system that keeps the other players involved. One of the players picks up this board and the dice and rolls one die and keeps rolling it until a sun is rolled. Then the next player gets the board and the dice, and the next player starts rolling. And it's just as simple as that. Again, it seems very simple, but it has a couple of advantages. One is really the other kids get excited because they get the feeling that they're doing something, they're really affecting what happens here. In a sense, they are. In a case, they aren't, because the dice are But what really is fun, so that is fun because everybody's like involved, as the other players take turn being the player of the sun. But also, as you are trying to complete your quest, then you do not know exactly how much you have. I just collected my second piece of garlic. Maybe I can try for a third one, but four already there. I don't want to push it because, of course, if you're caught out there, when the sun comes up, which is when that board is complete, is all full of sun symbols, then if you're caught out there, you do not get to score the garlic pieces that you have with you. You have to actually drop them. So it's a really simple idea, but adds uncertainty for the people, for the person that is playing as the active super vampire, and something to do for the other players. So there's a game as simple as that. The game continues until all of these garlic tokens have been assigned, and by reducing the number you can also reduce the length of the game if you so wish, and at that point when the game is over you count garlic pieces and whoever has the most wins the game. As simple as that, and enjoyable, very enjoyable. I got this game on a sale and it was like maybe $10, I don't even remember exactly. Totally worth it, totally worth it. And it could probably be worth a couple of extra dollars because it's a competitive game, and my daughters are 4 and 6, and they do not necessarily compete very well with one another, especially my 4-year-old always wants to play cooperative games. But here there is a twist because I can sit there with my 4 and my 6. The 4-year-old always does the player of the sun. That becomes her task, and she's extremely happy to do that because she's extremely happy that when she gets to do this, then her sister doesn't get to score. And if sister scores, then well, she wasn't playing to start with, so the player of the sun doesn't really lose. The player of the sun has the satisfaction of being a pain in the neck to the players without the pain, without the sadness of losing, because the player of the sun doesn't really play. Again, usually the player of the sun is a function that each player performs in turn, but like we did, of course, something else that you can do is simply to assign the player of the sun to a player that doesn't really want to play, but wants to be part of the game. So just because of the dynamics going on in my family, this has turned out to be a much bigger success than I expected, because both of my kids can play it, quote unquote, together, although one of them is not really playing, and they enjoy it and have a good time. In truth, it's just me and my 6-year-old playing it while the 4-year-old enjoys getting us in trouble and trying to make us lose. Enjoyable and fun. There is an element of coordination. The first time the players play, expect a lot of that to happen. But actually, it turned out that my 6-year-old, which is not the most coordinated person in the world, picked up a trick or two quite fast. Actually, she's slightly better than I am. She has become good quite fast, and that is good. She has also practiced some fine movements there. So it's a simple but pretty enjoyable game. It's a silly game, really for kids. With one exception, you can see adults turning this into a drinking game, and then of course as the manuality goes down, and oh well, you know what would happen. So Super Vampires. It's a simple game. It looks pretty attractive. The presentation is impressive for a kid's game. Yeah, kids are like, whoa, look at that castle. It's amazing. So the presentation is good. It really helps. The components are good. Oh, speaking about the components, my copy at least only came with French rules, which is fine because I can read French. But, well, if you don't, now at least you have my video for reference. I don't know if this is standard or just my copy. I mean, the box is in English. The instructions are in English. Just the English rulebook was missing. But Super Vampires in general is a good game. The production, the presentation is really nice. The dynamics for a kids game are pretty neat, because there is a nice tension element, there is a push or luck element combined with a dexterity element, and they all go together very nice and really fun. My kids had fun, and every time that they played the game, I enjoy playing it with them, which doesn't always happen with all the kids games that we have at home, but it happened with this one, so I'm pretty happy that I did pick up a copy of Super Vampires.